And okay, Clay, good morning, and we'll have you make a few opening comments. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Really nice to get started working on an opponent yesterday and doing some base first, second down game plan. We'll, get in some third down and red zone game planning over the next 2 days, and then have the opportunity to go to the Coliseum on Saturday and kind of do one last mock situational practice where we are more the logistics of games and with headsets and substitutions and being able to run through some game-like simulations with our kids. So and then we're in game week, and it's an exciting time. These kids have put a lot of work into getting to this point. It has been extremely nice from the off season through the summer to the training camp to get back to a little bit of sense of normality. And I can tell you we're a lot further ahead at this point now than we were last year at this point. So it's exciting for our team, exciting for our coaching staff, and we're looking forward to the opening ball game. With that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Again, a reminder, raise your hand and we'll call on you. So we'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, we'll start with RJ.
Hey Clay, I was wondering if there's an update on the quarter competition at this point.
I did not hear any of that. You were breaking up pretty good. If you could try one more time.
Sure. I was just wondering if there's an update on the backup quarterback situation at this point.
Yeah, I had to have some hard conversations as we moved into game planning at several positions. I'll be releasing the two deep next week, but I will give you this because obviously y'all see. And so in talking to had the opportunity to talk to the quarterbacks and where we're going to start at. I commend all three kids for how competitive they were and how much they've improved from spring to fall. Going into the San Jose State game, we'll have Keenan as the number one quarterback, Jackson as the number two, and Miller as the number three, with each trying to prep as hard as they can in their mind to be a starter and prep like a starter. All kids handled it extremely well, like pros, like I knew they would, and we'll move forward. With any other positions, I'll give you I had those conversations with our kids yesterday. They kind of know their role going into it, and I'll release a depth chart later next week based on where we are health wise and making sure we exactly the lineup that we want to go with based on health and based on production. So with that, I'll take the next question.
Okay, Ryan Archie.
Good morning, Clay. In terms of Keaton, what would you say his biggest area of growth, maybe even just mentally over the course of this offseason and fall camp has been?
Yeah, you know what, Ryan? I had this question yesterday in an article about, kind of over the last year, when going through this pandemic, who has it affected the most? And I really thought there were three areas that were really important coming out of last season. One was our strength and conditioning, because we hadn't had the opportunity to have a winter program, a summer program, and really commit to that. And we did over 16 weeks, both winter and summer. I thought it was really important, especially for quarterbacks. And this is to answer your question. I thought it was really important to be able to put them in some live action, because you think about it. We left on March 15th, didn't enter the building until July 6th, really only had 3 weeks worth of prep going into last season. And I've always thought the development of quarterbacks is based on reps and experience. I was really worried that we weren't even going to get to play a game last year, but those 6 experiences that we get did allow him to grow. Now having the opportunity to go through an off season, both spring and summer and fall camp, and really, as you've seen, get rid of some of the scales and in favor for some more live pass rush. I think it's helped each quarterback, kind of advance them because they missed those opportunities last year. So, it's been neat to see his area of growth getting back comfortable in live action. And then the last one, I thought it was just really important for us both spring and fall, as you've seen, is just putting our kids in tackling situations. And we maximized every tackle situation by law, by NCAA, based on, spring and fall camp, so those were the areas that we felt like we need to improve in, and a credit to the kids that they bought into it and have done a wonderful job and put themselves in ready for the first game.
And just follow up, in terms of Jackson, what were the deciding factors that kind of elevated him to that number 2 spot?
Really, you talked about 3 elite quarterbacks in that room when you're talking about Keaton, Jackson, and Miller. You're talking about, I think, 3 pro quarterbacks, and guys that will develop fast. And, I saw Miller really grow from practice 1 to where he is now. You think about a kid that didn't even get a senior year and didn't get to play a senior year, and to be able to do that, be able to get to where he is right now and be ready for college football has been amazing to me. Where Jackson had a leg up a little bit was in live action, and that's how it was evaluated, is really when the ball was put down in scrimmage type atmospheres or live action. That's what I needed to see. And he was a little more productive in those situations than Miller. Obviously, both guys are elite. Both guys will continue to compete. I've talked to both of them about it. Miller have a chip on his shoulder and continue to compete, and Jackson compete like heck to hold the job. And that's college football. That's NFL football. You're fighting for another 24 hours. But I credit both kids, Ryan. I really do, for their approach to the competition, how well they competed, their growth from practice 1 in spring all the way through now. And the future is bright with those 2 kids. And they've made it a very respectful competition and will continue to compete all the way through.
All right, let's go to Antonio.
Clay, you just touched on it a bit, but what was your message to Miller and how did he handle it when you had that difficult conversation with him?
Yeah, I told him that you have to make decisions in the moment, what's best for the team in the moment. And I told him the story of, I've been in this situation before, having an older quarterback with Matt Barkley and having to make a decision between Max Wittick and Cody Kessler. And at first, Max was the number 2 and Cody was the number 3, and Cody was very disappointed. And I told him that this is your role right now. Doesn't mean what it's going to be that role in the future. But you need to continue to improve and progress and compete. And remember, it's the best player in the moment. And I remember Cody having that chip on his shoulder and carrying that all the way through the fall, all the way through the spring. And then you look up and he was the starting quarterback after Matt left. So, going into this first game, that's where it's at. I look forward to, hopefully, I'd love to be able to be up in some games and be able to get both kids valuable reps, within games and give them college experience. That's one of the beautiful things about the new rule, as far as having 4 games to play before you have to make a decision whether a redshirt or not. Kids get experience, and that's an evaluation tool too. Is how well do they handle the Coliseum when it's filled and you have to, the lights are on and you have to play. So hopefully we get to those opportunities to allow both kids to show what they can do in live action in college football.
This is a situation you've dealt with plenty of times over the past 10 years at this school. What have you learned when it comes to handling the quarterback situations and the competitions?
Just be very brutally honest, very clear, and provide a plan for the future of development, and let them know that because the decision today is one way doesn't mean what it's going to be later on. I've always believed, at some point in time as a coach, you have to identify everybody's role. And that's hard. You identify it. It's the player's job to accept that role and star in that role, no matter what it may be, whether you're the number 2, number 3, whether you're getting reps, whether you're helping the defensive service team, which Miller did a phenomenal job in live action yesterday of really going out there and then putting on a show against our defense. I remember Sam Darnold and Cody Kessler doing that. But it's really about identifying the role, making sure they accept their role, star in their role, and then understand that, if you don't like your role, you can change it by how hard you work, how you progress, how you compete, and putting yourself in that every opportunity that you get, you put good tape together. And so those two guys will continue, I know, to continue to grow as quarterbacks. And it'll be a great competition in the future, too. And both understand, that every day is a competition when you're a USC quarterback.
Adam Grossberg.
Clay, a couple of weeks ago, we talked to you about Michael Trigg and just where he was in terms of learning the playbook. Do you feel like he's made progress in terms of where you could feel comfortable trusting him there against San Jose State?
Mike's done a really nice job and really has flashed and making, obviously, some big plays, and he has big play capability. I have appreciated Sept and Mike and how hard they've worked together to learn the system. Obviously, everybody the light clicks on differently, and Mike is getting really close. I could see the confidence in his eyes, and I've got to, as long as health stays alive, I can see him playing and contributing in this opening ball game and trust him to do that. He's put a lot of work into it, both physically and mentally, in learning the playbook. Not to say that we're a finished product, we're not, but we have advanced very much so over this fall training camp, and we'll have a role for him in that first game. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to Ryan Young.
Clay, overall, who do you feel took advantage of this month the most to really elevate their standing?
I tell you what, I've been really pleased with the opportunity that was given to ITS and how he's taken advantage. You're talking about a guy that was kind of a number 3 corner last year. He was the guy that came in to spell for 20 plays, and I have liked how his work with Dante and his overall attitude towards the position. I think he's in line to have a terrific year and have one of those elite years. Everybody knows about Chris Steele, his play last year, his play in this camp. But in watching ITS throughout this fall camp and knowing that he has a sense of urgency to really capture that position, as well as be a lead at it, has been really nice to see. I think that he's going to have a tremendous year.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll give you a chance for 1 or 2 more questions if anybody has them. Ryan Karchi.
Clay, I asked you about Keaton a little bit earlier, but especially in terms of the younger quarterbacks, in what ways have you seen him maybe step up as a leader in a way that he maybe couldn't have last year, just given the pandemic?
Yeah, one of the things that Keaton does, which I really appreciate, he's a model of what you want as a Trojan, as a person, as a student, as a guy that a locker room, how he is in the locker room, his work ethic and strength and conditioning, his work ethic in the field. And, a part of being a quarterback is the intangibles. If you don't have great intangibles, it's hard to play the position because people have to look up to you as a leader. For him to be able to just lead by example for those 2 young kids, that this is how it's done, has really excelled those two younger quarterbacks. I'm so thankful, really thankful that Jackson and Miller graduated early, because they got to go through that off season with Keaton, and through that winter program, and really see what it takes to be a college quarterback at this level, and be the example of what a college quarterback is at this level. And it would not be the same if we were in last year. I don't think Miller or Jackson would be to the point they are if they didn't have these last 7 months with Keaton right by their side, showing them this is what you do. This is the mental focus you have to have. This is the work ethic that you have to have. This is who you got to be on a daily basis, a consistent basis. So it has been a great offseason. It's really propelled, Jackson and Miller, where I have no issue with either one of them being in a football game right now because they're college ready.
Okay, Mark Colton.
Good morning, Coach. Beginning of camp, I asked you, because you always I asked you what you thought the team could do better the first few days of camp.
Yeah.
Now we're 3 weeks in. If you were to reflect back, the team looks great, but if you were to pick something, what do you want to see more from?
One of the things I thought T.O. and group did an amazing job of last year, and it really was one of the reasons we were able to be undefeated in regular season play, is the ability to get turnovers, especially in the passing game. Because of the disguises of coverage that he does and the amount of pressure, it's been a natural habit to be able to garner interceptions. I think we garnered, 9 over 6 games, which is the highest per game, I think, in the country. Where I would love to be able to see, as I went through this entire camp, is for us to be able to also get some balls out on the ground. That's going to be a point of emphasis going into this next week, is to, I think we're as good as anybody as far as creating turnovers through the air. Also want to be one of those great teams that can get it out by punching the ball out, raking the ball out, putting helmet on ball, being able to target that ball when an opponent has it. So, it goes twofold, because offensively, I think we've had some great ball security all camp, and we worked really hard at it. But also, you'd like to see some more balls out there. But it's been a really great camp, Mark. Seriously, all the way around. We set some objectives to be able to get done, and we have. And we're trying to win championships. So part of winning championships is, I think, creating those turnovers, and that's where we can grow by knocking the ball out, raking it out, punching it out, and getting some sack fumbles.
Great. And then one last question: were you anticipating this much production from so many members from your 2020 class this early?
It was an extremely talented class, and it was one that we knew that there was a physical maturity about these kids, but really a mental maturity. When you look at the programs they came from, they're very elite programs that compete at a very high level, which makes them a little bit more college ready. And being able to be with a Robert Steiner throughout the summer, be with Bobby, I think has really propelled them to get their bodies physically ready for the game. And then credit to the kids. They walked in here over the summer at our player runs practices, and our coaches committing to having the opportunities to meet with those kids and start installation. And I could see the advantages. We're further ahead with those young people than we were last year with not having that situation. So to be able to see guys go out there and actually function in their first training camp over, basically their first 16 practices has been nice to see. And as we go, I think there'll be some kids that help us day one. And then I think there'll be some kids that will continue to grow and help us throughout the season. I remember Nelson Aguilar. Nelson wasn't quite ready game one, but thank goodness he was ready by the Oregon game, where he had about 170 yards catching. The light finally came on. And these kids have put a lot of work into getting there, and I see a lot of them helping and contributing to us this year. Thanks for that question, Mark.
Okay, we're going to finish with one question from Ryan Young.
I understand you said you'd give us the rest of the depth chart next week, but in general, what was the hardest position to evaluate and kind of settle?
Just being honest, Ryan, probably the offensive line, because it's a deep unit. It's a talented unit. It's made up of vets and talented young guys. And we're very fortunate to have the men in that room. And there was some hard decisions that have to be made going into game one, and a plan going into game one. But we are in a terrific place with the offensive line right now, in my opinion, coming out of camp, both for the immediate present as well as the future. When I look at some of these young kids like a Mason Murphy and a Max Gibbs and a Ty Buchanan and the guys that are just coming on board, as well as some guys that are going in to their second year. It's a great room. And as I told our guys, it's hard when you have 124 guys and only 11 of them can go out there at a time, and only 22 can be starters. So not everybody's going to be happy with their role. But what I'm very appreciative of is I got a lot of pros on this team, and they accept their roles and do what it takes to help their teammates and help our team win. They're very unselfish people. And I know they'll continue to compete, but that was probably the hardest one, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clay, for joining us. Media, thank you for being here. We will see you again in person on Tuesday, so have a great few days. We should have game notes out hopefully Sunday evening. And with that, everybody have a great day. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.